Nation. I'm your man, Rod Love, and sitting way across from me, as y'all know, is none other than the General Attorney Greg Jackson.
Once again, it's on, Brother Love. Hey, you know how we get this thing started every week, man. How's this weekend past for you?
Great weekend, Greg, but boy, I tell you, the night is gonna top it all off.
No doubt, man, no doubt. But listen, before we get started, I got to do it early because we got guests in the studio.
There you go.
You are tuned in to two of the most influential voices in Central Florida on a Monday night podcast. Brother Love and Greg Jackson, the dynamic duo, guaranteed to raise your IQs 25 to 30 points. And on some nights, Brother Love, we're going to take it up.
Take it up.
Yes, that's right, man. So if you want to be a part of tonight's podcast, all you have to do is hit 407-921-6195. Again, that's 407-921-6195. Or you can get your little Twitter fingers and go to Facebook. You can join us over there right there. And Brother Love, all we got to do is tell them right now, let's
get it on. Hey, Brother Jackson, man, I'm excited about the night because we got one familiar guest in the studio that's been, man, he's been grinding with us, man. We've been doing this 8 years now, and you've been right there with us, Pinto. But you know what? I'm not going to mess up the total and the big picture introductions. I'm going to pass that doggone 4x4 baton. I go to my brother. Do your thing, brother.
Now, listen, so tonight, Brother Love, we have a very intriguing special conversation. We have some young folks in here with us. Like you said, we have our brother Pinto, who's in here with us, who has done some great work with bringing together political conversations and forums and different things like that. And so we have asked some young brothers from University of Central Florida to join us tonight to have some conversation. So, Brother Pinto, we're going to ask you to introduce our special guest this evening, man.
Well, you know what? First and foremost, thank you for this opportunity, right? I really appreciate it because you guys are at the forefront of what's going on in Central Florida, and the invitation just means a lot to us.
I appreciate that, brother.
But I'd like to introduce, I'm going to have Brother Toluwani introduce himself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Toluwani Oluko. I'm a junior at the University of Central Florida, majoring in biology, hoping to become a dentist. I'm also part of the University of Central Florida.
Brother Jan?
I'm a senior at the University of Central Florida. My major is in kinesiology with a minor in health services administration, and I'm also part of the ZIO, the chapter of Alpha.
Hey, welcome. But when you have a conversation, I just can't let you say that without me doing a little segue into it. And Pinto, this is part of the conversation we were just having about something that's been so controversial over the last maybe 15 years in our country. We're talking about healthcare. And so when you talk about healthcare, and I mentioned my daughter just graduated nursing school, Pinto, you told me your connection with, is it NICU? NICU. And man, it's just good to see these young brothers, man, that's engaged. And my daughter was talking about all the biology she had to take when she was going through this process. But gentlemen, welcome you and Pinto. Thank you, man, because you're building the bench, man.
So wait, hold on, I'm sorry. You said gentlemen and Pinto.
Wow, I just caught that.
Hey, come on, man. We've been doing this for a while, man. Come on, man.
I guess like that, man. God, how you gonna do that?
And that's a what do you call it, Freudian slip?
Hey, you call it what you want to call it. But listen, but tonight, though, as I said, we have some young brothers that are here tonight. And, you know, a lot of the conversation, and healthcare is a part of that conversation also. But tonight's conversation, we've tried on a lot of occasions to talk to the younger generation and talk to them about engaging in politics and engaging in civic activism and different things like that. And so one of the big questions that we always come to is, you know, when we look at voter turnout, when we look at voter participation, it always seems as if the younger generation is kind of lagging behind for whatever reason may be. Talk to us a little bit about what it is that you all see from your perspective that either turns you off about politics or that would attract you and get you engaged in politics.
Well, first I'd like to start off with why I personally believe why voter turnout, especially on my generation, is fairly low. I believe that a lot of young voters feel like their vote doesn't matter, and that's the general answer. The vote doesn't count. This, that, and then the third. But the main reason why I don't see a lot of people talk about it is that a lot of young people believe that no matter what they vote or where they vote, their life will always be the same. Their life will always carry on. Like the next day, I got class tomorrow. I got a test the next week. Whether or not Trump is in office.
Repeat what you just said, because Greg, did y'all catch that?
That's heavy.
Yeah, so what it was saying is like young people feel like their life won't change on a daily basis on a micro level. They're not thinking about the macro levels more so. Whether or not Trump is in office or maybe even the state representatives, one is there and then another is there. They don't see, I guess, the change in impact that really voting and pushing for who you want into office, even on a local level, and how that can change your life, your family's lives, not even just yourself, not even a selfish level, but on a selfless level, the lives of people around you. So it's more so that.
So before you go further and before we move, does that apply whether you see somebody within your generational sphere, or because I totally can understand if you're looking at somebody like myself and there's that generational separation, does that apply in both cases, or I'm just interested?
Well, I do feel like, I'm not going to say like the most well-versed person on this, but I do feel like people in my generation, we don't necessarily have enough experience to see the different implications in the way that I guess politics could affect the workforce and this daily life and whatnot. So maybe in an older generation, they have more experience in seeing how life was 20 years ago when certain politics, certain bills were in place versus how it is now. For us, even though things are changing, for the most part, things have been the same. We haven't been young adults for long. We haven't been adults rather for long. So yeah.
I would say that generationally, right? Since we canvass a lot throughout the Orlando area, we get a lot from the older crowd, right? But the difference what I'm finding with the younger generation, they're approachable.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't speak at them and you speak with them, it's a different conversation at all. So when I reached out to the brothers just to come on out here, they were like, yes, let us check first with the advisor, make sure we're good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we want to be here, right? So for us, we look at this partnership, not just for today, but we'll be coming back. We do a permission, right, on a quarterly basis. We're just checking in with them, right? But at the same time, I feel like this is a generation that's coming up after us. So we need to make sure they're well positioned, where they understand how they can empower themselves and also empower representatives to represent them.
Wow.
That's in itself, they're representatives of us.
You're right. You're absolutely right. They're very insightful. Same question for you.
I definitely agree with what Tony said. I think a big portion of it is people don't believe that their vote does count. I also think a big thing is that they're not well versed on the local elections. And that's a big reason as to why they feel as if when they vote, they don't see the effects for themselves. We always talk about voting on the macro scale when we're talking about, our presidents and things like that, but no one really talks about our county commissioners, our mayors, sheriff's office. So the things that are in our backyard, the elections that are in our backyard, no one really talks about it. The youth is never really informed on it, and therefore, when they do go out to vote, they're voting for the large elections, so they're not getting to see some of the minor changes that can be happening. Because a lot of times, the things that affect them most are the things that in their own personal community. And when they vote for the president and see that their community hasn't changed, they're feeling like, okay, well, the president isn't going to do anything for us. Well, the president can only do so much. He can't focus on every single community at a time. That's why there are people in place for you to vote for who can focus specifically on your community, on your city, on your region to help you and help your family, help your community.
Here's interesting, and you kind of took it there even before I got to this aspect of what I was thinking. We've heard this term, and tell me what this means to you. All politics is local. When you hear that, what does that mean to you?
I think it means to me that when it comes to politics, you have to think of it from every level, especially local, because the local politics is honestly probably the most important in your day-to-day life. Because
the thing of it is, so, and the way that it has always been explained or described, all right, let's say that you are driving down the street and there's a street light on the street. Who are you going to call to address that issue of the street light? You can't call the president. You can't call the representative in Congress. You can't call the senator in Congress, but you can call the state representative possibly, or you can call the commissioner that's in that area, and they can affect like that on the ground issue that you're facing. So when you think about it, one of the ways that I really truly first got involved in politics at a little bit older age was local politics, and that was a county commission race. And I actually got out, walked for someone who was running for county commissioner, phone bank for someone who was county commissioner. And then that led to me looking at state level and then looking at federal level. So from that perspective, what are some of the things that you see kind of on the local level that you feel you could kind of touch or that you would be interested in touching and being engaged or involved in to kind of get a feel for the political process, if that makes sense.
Okay. So I say one thing specifically that I believe all young people should get into, even from the youngest ages of elementary school, is simple community service. When you see community service, you see different aspects of where community may be doing good at and where it's also lacking at. And then from there, you can connect to the county commissioner and see, okay, I see discrepancy, I see errors over here. I see a lot of the homeless population over here is so much higher. Why is it this way? I see maybe drugs are so much higher in this area. Why is it this way? But I also see at the same time, oh, the roads are fixed over here. Like, the fences are up. There's a lot more money being poured into these certain places. Really just ask why is it this way and what we can do to balance everything out, and just talk to your local representatives about
wait a minute. This conversation is already so good, and I mean, gentlemen, I got to tell you, I'm loving how you're articulating your views and opinions, and you're hitting the nail direct. Both of you hit the nail directly on the head, and Attorney Jackson and Pinto are actually pulling out of you what we've had. Veterans come into this studio, politicians and those who want to be politicians, and they haven't. And let me take that back. You guys are articulating something that needs to be heard from a generational standpoint. And when you talk about the fact that you'll go to the polls and you'll vote, but you don't have that feeling that at a micro level that anything is going to really impact or affect. And the key word I would say benefit you.
Yeah. I'd say that's like the main thing. Just wondering, will this change point A? Will this change point B? I guess the closest thing you can see is, and you hear this a lot, especially on social media. Oh, my gas prices, they went up. They and then they blame it on the president.
and do y'all actually? I mean, because I'm almost thrown here. I'm listening, and Pinto, thank you again, man, because this conversation is already deep, but deep from the generation that when we hang it up, we still looking at healthcare. We're looking at a number of things that continue to be important to us. And as time goes on, it's going to be very, very important to us because we're going to be dependent on some of those things. But are you guys having these kind of conversations? Because I ain't going to lie. I'm going to tell you, when I was at Youngstown State and I was y'all age, we didn't have these kind of conversations. But politics, what isn't what it is now, then either.
I mean, politics back then for us, when we were coming up, we didn't have like the internet and different things. I mean, we had the newspapers, we had like the 6 o'clock news, 11 o'clock news, and so it wasn't as accessible to us as it is today. Not just to young, but to all of us. I mean, politics is something where you just push a button and you can get virtually everything that you want to see. And we're going to talk a little bit about where you kind of get your information to be engaged, whether it's civically or politically and things like that. But here's a question that I've asked these guys. All right, I'm gonna hit y'all with something kind of hard. All right, and I don't think anyone has been able to answer this question sufficiently just yet. But when I was coming up, one of the things that kept me away from politics is my thought process was, what can politics do that money can't? In other words, if you have money and resources, is there anything that politics can do that you can't do if you have money and resources?
Anything that politics can do that you can't do with money and resources. Would you like to speak to that? No, I have a little viewpoint on it, but
Sure.
yeah.
I think politics can develop a real support base that money can't. If you're buying, I would say you can buy a lot of things, but not everything you buy will be authentic. I think you can find true authenticity in politics if you're fighting for the right causes, you're fighting for the right reasons, and you're keeping in touch with the community, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're someone who's truly about the community, then how you go about politics should involve them every step of the way. There's no reason that you should be running for a county commissioner and you haven't been in the community. You haven't been, on the streets talking to people, knocking on doors, canvassing, seeing.
See, this is the problem. I'm sorry. I should have been asking the young folks this question. I should have been asking us old folks that question. Go ahead, keep going, man. Keep going. You flowing. I like this.
But yeah, I mean, knocking on doors, if you're running for county commissioner, there's no reason that the community shouldn't know your name, know your face. If you're not doing the groundwork, then you're not really building the real support for you, in your election that you're running for. And I believe that although you can buy supporters, these supporters aren't real. They don't know your name. They don't know your face. They don't know you're really for them. You're just throwing money in their face, and that's never a real solution to the problem.
All right.
And I pretty much agree on the same point. Although politics and money, of course, do go hand in hand a lot. You know, you need money to fund the campaign, you need money to get things going, fund the venues and whatnot. But at the same point, politics is what touches and influences the mind. And although money can do that as well, it won't do it to the people that you want to do it to. You need to affect the general masses. And there's only so much money that can go around, that especially the people who have money want to give out to affect the general masses.
Yeah.
So that's why they're donating. Well, like, I guess if I was saying, like, that's why people donate directly to the politician and directly to the people.
And so, you know, I think that's the first time, and I never thought about it that way, Brother Love, but the point that you brought up more than anything else was the authenticity that comes with it that money may not necessarily bring. But then the other thing too, because you just also brought up another interesting point. When you talk about people that giving money to the politicians and not to the community, let me ask this question. Does anyone know how much money Kamala Harris raised for her campaign?
I'm not sure, but I can assume it's probably like 100 millions.
What do you think? What do you think?
I definitely think it's definitely
In the millions?
I think maybe 500.
500 what? Million?
Yeah.
$2
billion.
Whoa.
So when you say, check me out on this. When you say people are giving money to politicians and not to the community, one of the questions that I asked, and it has nothing to do with who the candidate is. It has nothing to do with the political party that the person is in. My biggest question was, how is it that people can mobilize and put $2 billion into a campaign, and we still look out into these communities and we see, dilapidated communities.
Broken communities,
We still see food deserts in certain communities. And these same people, they'll put money towards politicians, but they won't put that same money into the community. Why is it that you think that they will put money towards a politician or political campaign versus in a community?
And are they doing it with no return on investment that's comprehensible?
That's the key, though. They're expecting a return.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's what I also believe too. I don't want to see the worst of people, but I do believe the people who have the money to donate this are doing it for selfish reasons, in the sense that they want to influence what could benefit them. So say they want someone in office that can maybe reduce their taxes or and prioritize that rather than fixing the roads for something they don't care about.
You just brought up something, and I gotta really do an interject right here, because I got a question for the both of you. You know, we are hearing politicians who are running for office promise everybody everything. And when you look at it, and I'm gonna just relate it to where we live. You got an Orange County Commission that you're only gonna be, with the expanded districts, you're only gonna be one of 9. When you look at the city of Orlando, you're gonna be one of 6. But what we expect and look for is how people fight for what they talk about, because at the end of the day, what we're seeing is people promise that you don't have to work. People promise that if you, but we're seeing a whole bunch of promises, but the delivery is short.
And I say where that delivery comes short is in the fact that it comes back to the people as well. One of the biggest things that I learned about recently is redistricting, and I guess the whole aspect of redlining in the past and whatnot, and even so now. By year, Orlando districts are always changing, right? And that can really affect the voter base, the voter populace, about who they vote for, who they put in as their local representatives. So if they're continuously redistricting an area to have, like, say, hypothetical, a Republican candidate maybe leaning more conservative to be put into office more often than not, then that when that person gets to the office, they're going to keep benefiting the people who are donating that money, who are also leaning
But see, and I'm glad you went.
Yeah.
Pinto, you got to jump in here too, because this is
I think you're in the conversation, bro.
This is interactive. But here's something I got to ask the both of you, Greg, as well as Pinto. We have a friend over at UCF, and it sounds like y'all might have been in his class. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm talking about none other than Dr. Aubrey Jewett, who's a political
science.
Yeah. And you guys, y'all deep, brothers.
So, and the challenge, and this is why I like this platform, right? Is number one, to acknowledge that there are brothers out there that are in the next generation that can have conversations like this, right? But more importantly, the task that I'm pushing them to do is have those conversations with people on campus. Because when I show up there, they're like, look at this old guy. What does he want? You know? Because when they show up, they can connect, they can use that language immediately. and start having candid conversations. So for me, I just like to sit back and listen, because when I do get approached, I need to be able to use that language, right? Be able to connect, but more importantly, be able to listen and not judge. Because that's the problem. A lot of times what I found is that the younger generation feel like we judge them. And some of the ones
Well,
get
we
out of
do
the way.
though. I mean, but let's not, and it's not about, because when we were coming up, we were judged,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just kind of like
So-
that thing that happens as we get older. Yeah.
I hate to quote Kendrick Lamar, but they're not like us. They're not like us, bro.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong.
Oh,
I'm saying
okay.
it's
All
just what
right.
happens. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
what
But we also have the perspective, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it because we've had discussions about it. There is a place for wise men. Let me just make sure you young men also understand the phrase "iron sharpening iron," right? So there's a place for experience, lived experience, and wise men. But there's also an example with Julius Caesar, who, after a point in time, folk looked at him as a dictator and was not going to share power. And y'all know what happened when he went into the chamber and they had decided, hey,
But here's one thing that I think that we've got forgotten in American politics and in politics in general. When countries were getting started, think about the leaders of those countries. These weren't old people. I mean, aside from Moses and Methuselah and people like that, but really and truly, it was the younger people that were leading and guiding in communities. I mean, even if you look back at King David when he took over from Saul, he was a young man when he took over.
Something like this, Jet, real quick too.
Yeah.
I learned about it recently.
Yeah.
George Washington and the other founding fathers, they were like in
In
their
their-
20s,
yeah, in
early
their
30s.
30s, yeah.
they
And I
were
don't think that
kinda
people
young,
realize that in order to get the ingenuity to build a country as great as America is, or to build certain societies, it was young people that it wasn't the older generation that was doing it. And I think that we've forgotten that, as we've aged. Like when we were younger, when we were on the highest of Seven Hills in Tallahassee, Florida A&M University, go Rattlers, we thought that we could conquer the world. And that's the attitude that we have. There's nothing that we can't do. As we get older, though, we start to realize some of our limitations and things like that. But we need that young vigor, that young strength, because that's who kind of built where we are right now.
And I have a question for you regarding that as well.
About 5 to 7 years.
Not necessarily that, but you see the young vigor a lot during social media and whatnot. Fighting for all these things.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the stats and whatnot, the turnout
They
is
don't come
lacking.
out. Yeah.
So we see the vigor, but we don't see the results in the action. So where do you think? I said it, but where do you think the disconnect can come from?
I absolutely think that the disconnect is that politicians have done a terrible job of convincing people that they can do what they say they're going to do. And when they come into these communities and they say that if you vote for me, this is going to change, that's going to change, and you wake up the next day and it hadn't changed, you wake up a week from now and it hasn't changed, and you wake up a month, a year later, and it still hasn't changed, it makes people disenchanted with the whole election process. And that's why voter turnout in general is low. It's not just the young people, it's more so the young people that we look at. But if you really truly look at it, we don't have 60% voter turnout in a lot of these local elections. We just had an election for various county city commissions for the city of Orlando. The largest of those races in terms of turnout was about 8,000 people in a district with about 30 or 40,000 people. I mean, you're talking about no more than 20% turnout.
Yeah.
That's not just young people that we're looking at. That's people that are our age also that's looking at this process and saying nothing's going to change.
You're right.
And we have to let people understand that your voice is power. The reason why this show got started, and Brother Love will tell you this more than anybody else, the reason why this show got started is because there was a mayor in the second largest municipality in Orange County, in Poplar, Florida. And there were things that he was doing. He actually was a friend of mine up to a point, but there were things that he was doing that we didn't agree with. So Brother Love called me and asked me if I would be a guest on the show for 1 week and see how that turned out.
8 years later.
And do you want? And we started talking about what was taking place in that community.
Yeah.
And 7-8 months later, when the election came, that person was voted out. And we saw immediately that there was strength in having a platform, strength in having a voice, and educating people about what was going on, because most voters don't want to read and don't want to do the research. So who do they rely on? They look at the people that they see here, and they look at people who are active on social media. Because right now, how many followers you have on social media?
500-600.
How many you got?
About the same amount.
That's 500 or 600 people that y'all can just talk to and just influence
Yes.
right now. 500 to 600 people is really and truly, when you truly think about it, when you start to move people, that's
Yeah.
about 10,000 people.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you have that type of reach and touch on 10,000 people, there's so much that you can do in terms of effectuating change that people don't realize and understand or believe. And that's why older people are trying to tap into social media, because
Yes.
we know the strength and power of it. Y'all know the strength and power of it, but you don't know how much strength and power you have in social media. When you say 500, 600 people, you ain't say it like you was excited about it. I heard I got excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just say about 500. Well, how many?
So,
Man, that's
I
10,000
would say
people.
People use that. For, I don't want to. Yeah, but like some people realize that they have that power to influence, especially the younger masses who are only getting information through social media. That they start spitting. I want to say even rhetoric, but like
Yeah.
biased, skewed information that fits their views and their ideals. So now people going out think that they're informed, with their chest out, saying these things that are not necessarily, I guess, the right things. You know.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect too.
Well, I will tell you, Brother Armando, who's been with us for what, 7 years now?
7 years now. Yeah.
So Brother Armando came to us as a 20. Brother Armando, you're how old? 25, 26? Yeah. So he came to us initially. He was 25, 26 years old. I will tell you right now, I've watched Brother Armando evolve on social media to where he will go in and he will challenge people. And when people start to say things that don't make sense,
Yeah.
he'll challenge us. We gotta we take that. He'll challenge- but that's what that voice is. And even when people are spewing that rhetoric, that you just like,
Yes.
what is it? Now I would say some crazy people on social media, so I'm not gonna say do it with everybody, but that is an opportunity to correct people and to say, or not even correct. What I normally do is I don't try to correct you, but I try to say, have you thought about it this way?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
And
that
now,
question.
I'm not telling you that you're wrong. I'm just saying, let's think about it differently. So, but yeah.
Hey, for those of you who are tuned in to Let's Talk Nation, you hear that this is an excellent conversation. We have young people in the studio
Thank you.
that we're gonna throw Pinto in there too. Hey, but if you have a comment, question, you want to ask these young men something, please call us 407-921-6195. Once again, that number is 407-921-6195. Back to the conversation. We've had you a little quiet on this end, man. So what's some of your thoughts and perspective on this conversation? One of the things I will say, and Brother Jackson took us down that path about money and politics. One of the things, and I'm gonna just point out some things that are factual. We've had some races in this community that 3-4 weeks before the actual election, you see $1 million, $2 million for TV time pouring, and you see elections turn. We had a congressional race that, Greg, how many, Pinto? It was 5 or 6, 7 individuals in the congressional race, and a few weeks before the race, millions of dollars poured in. So money does impact, but here's something else I think the electorate got to get more familiar with, and that is when you see people coming into your community and they're catching these planes into your community and they're knocking on your door asking you to vote for a certain person, here are some of the things that we need to do. We need to ask that person that's knocking on your door, let me see your driver's license. Because we have folk that fly in and they'll solicit your vote for a candidate and never tell you that they don't even live in this community.
So that's the question. That's the question. How much weight do you put on celebrity endorsements? Like when you see, Cardi B, or you see Megan Thee Stallion coming out and endorse people and saying, "Go." How does that make you feel?
I think it depends on the type of celebrity and the image they uphold. Because if you have a celebrity, like let's say for example a rapper who promotes nothing but violence and drugs and money, all of a sudden endorsing a candidate, that almost looks fishy. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't seem like it's very legit. It seems more like they're definitely being bought out to endorse this candidate or getting some type of incentive. I think for celebrities, if it's possible, make more of an emphasis on celebrities doing that kind of work in general. And if you are going to have a celebrity endorse a candidate, make it seem more natural, more like this is something that they actually believe in and are working towards, instead of having a celebrity out of the blue just be like, yeah, I'm with this person running for office, and then you never hear from them again.
What about the ones who challenge politicians? Like, say for instance, and this is an older celebrity, older hip hop guy. That's the more our generation. But when Ice Cube during the last presidential race, and how much did y'all follow the last presidential race with first off with Biden and Trump? How much did y'all follow that?
Oh, I say I followed it pretty. I wouldn't say I knew every single little some cranny going on. But, yeah.
Did your interest in the race change when Biden dropped out and it was Kamala and Trump at all?
It did.
Okay.
I say so.
So let me ask this question, because early on in the campaign, Ice Cube came out, and Ice Cube had a challenge, and he wanted to know why is it that, or what is it that Biden is going to do that's different from what's been done before? How much of an influence did that have? Number one, coming from a celebrity, and number two, coming from a celebrity who is in a different generation.
And you're saying, which any of you guys like to answer that? I don't know. I've been talking a lot, so when do you guys like to answer that?
Sure. I think that's a great thing to have a celebrity come in and challenge the politicians. And by challenging the politicians, it shows that the celebrity has an interest in what's going on, an interest in what they're going to do for this country and how they're going to, stand for our people and help everyone in the community. So I think challenging the politicians is a really great thing. For me, I was definitely following along a lot with that election. I definitely did some canvassing for that election, and I did some work as well, just in regards to sharing information about it at our school. We did some events regarding that, but yeah, I think that's important. I think it's important to see people who you're familiar with, celebrities, going out and challenging the politicians, speaking up for the community, and it also helps because it gives people this sense of like, it gives them a sense of community outside their own community. Like, yes, everyone's voices matter, but there are some voices that can reach further places, right? And to have those voices that can reach out further places for you could really be uplifting for people and can help when it comes to giving someone that empowerment to go out and vote.
Nice.
And I think based on some of the profiles that may endorse a candidate, to me, I like to always look at what's in it for them.
Yeah.
What investments do they have?
Yeah.
Is a real estate deal there that's going to provide some kind of tax benefit, or what else is there?
So to your point, Pinto, and I want to ask these young men, what do you think, or have you had this experience that you've seen celebrities endorse candidates, no matter who they are, and then a month or two later, you found out that celebrity actually got paid?
Yeah.
So what is I'll start here because I want to get both your thoughts. So what do you think when you hear that, when you legitimately think, oh, this celebrity got money and they're out there because they want to defend people's position, but then you find out they got paid? What's your thoughts on that?
I definitely think it'll come off to a lot of people as disingenuous, as if, they're just out here for a check. They don't really care how it works either way. And just like how I said, a celebrity going out and challenging politicians can empower people to vote. I think it can also, by something like that happening, it can take away their empowerment and kind of throw them in a further place where it's like, okay, the politicians aren't for me, the celebrities aren't for me, like everyone outside this community isn't for me, so what's the point? I think that kind of negative rhetoric can then seep into people's minds, and then all of a sudden you have the low turnouts once again, the same problem occurring once again.
Brother Pinto, man, I gotta thank you for bringing these sharp young brothers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is a great conversation. Yeah, you got something to say on that too.
Also seen a couple of examples. You see the Kanye's, recent Sexy Red. She even, this is another artist part of our generation. She even literally said that the Trump campaign paid her for her endorsement and administration, and she flips the other side on that. But being said, in that moment though, especially as a Black person in America, when you flip to another side that necessarily your race is, I guess, conform to as a whole and in a general form, it can really cause a lot of disillusionment and confusion among your people. And in terms of, okay, so I thought this person was my people, but now they over on this side, so what's going on? And that can cause them, as Yan was saying, to now push themselves, distance themselves, and that's just an issue with how celebrities present themselves and whether they're getting paid or not.
So let me ask this question, because both of y'all have indicated that you were either following the last election or that you actually did some work on that on the last election. What attracted you? What made you want to either keep up to date with what was going on, or made you want to be engaged in that campaign? What made you step out and say, you know what, I want to be involved in this?
Well, for me personally, I won't lie, and media doesn't lie. There's a lot media fear mongers. You know, they drive up fear about whether who's going to be in office and who's not. And I want to say I'm not a victim of it, even though I know that a lot of these are overhyped. But it's things like that. When I hear that this thing's gonna happen if this person comes in, I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. What can I do to make it go the other way? You know, how do I stay informed? How do I influence my peers to make sure it doesn't go the way that, in my belief, is the wrong way?
Nice.
But yeah, it's stuff like that.
I'm gonna tell you what's funny, and then we get you. When I was coming up, I remember it was I'm an old cat. It was 1979. All right. And it was the race with Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan. And I promise you, I remember that they came around and they told us that if Ronald Reagan won the race, we needed to pack up and go back to Africa. And I'm telling you, and as a kid now, you know, I was in the 70s, but I was young in the 70s, but as a kid, 1979, I'm 8 years old, and I'm hearing that if this guy wins, I gotta leave and I gotta go to it brings fear.
Yeah.
And you know, I can only imagine, you know, being a little bit older and being able to do something about it. But as a kid, I just felt like there's nothing I can do. We about to move back to Africa. You know what I'm saying? You know, no disrespect to the people of Africa, but I want to stay here.
I'm Nigerian, by the way.
Yeah, I'm you would have been cool. I was everybody over there. You know what I'm saying? But it's that type of fear that they've been interjecting into elections for a long time. But I'm sorry. So, what was it about this last election that got you engaged and wanted to get out?
During that time, I was working for a third-party nonpartisan board registration group called Faith in Florida. So I was a community organizer at the time. So I was literally always out in the community doing that type of work. And then when the election came, it was kind of, we just kicked into high gear. You know, we had people to reach, we had voices to make sure, we had to make sure everyone's voices were heard. So I was just doing what I could. I was doing some work on campus, doing some work in the community, did barbershop talks. So as much as I could.
You helped me with opening up this next question I have for you, and that is, when you say you work for this third party affiliation, does it matter? Does political party affiliation matter to you more than getting the work done? So, and let me go ahead and go further to my point. Does it matter to you if an individual, and I'll go ahead and say it, you know, when you look at African American population, the majority of African American population are registered Democrats. Does it matter to you that a person that looked like you, that may very well be another party affiliation, and they're saying the things that you want to hear, but you've heard it before? Does it matter? I mean, are you going to lean more on the party affiliation, or are you going to lean more on what if that individual really can get the work done?
I'd say, especially in my time in Faith in Florida, the main thing we focused on were the issues, right? You know, whether you're Democratic, whether you're Republican, we're all still human, right? So we're all still human. We're all still dealing with issues. We're all in the same communities. Whether we choose to affiliate ourselves with one party or another, the issues in our community still remain the same. And everyone needs to understand what the issues are and how we get to a place where we have a solution for the issues. So when I was doing a lot of the work in the community, I wasn't focused on, okay, is this person voting for Biden or is this person voting for Trump? That's not what my mind was focused on. My mind was focused on, okay, this person's in the community. What issues do they see in the community? Do they understand that they have the power to change the community? And how do we influence them to use that power to change the community?
So, you know, and Brother Spencer, I wanted to come to you real quick. I know you got something to say, but it's based on a comment that was made about, you know, making sure people have a voice. But
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
No, along those lines, essentially, we're all representatives of Alpha Phi Alpha. They're the representative from UCF, and I'm the grad chapter. And essentially what our work is to do is to just make sure people participate in the voting process. So when he said that, right, as a young gentleman, that
Mhm.
resonated.
Mhm.
And I didn't coach him on that. That is the key. And to me, especially being from another country, right, and having the right to vote, because I'm now a citizen, that is so misunderstood and mistaken, right? That they see us and they kind of consider us to be Democrats, right? But at the end of the day, we could be either or.
Yeah.
And when we're out there and we're canvassing, we just want people to participate. We're not
In the
advocating
process,
for one
yeah.
party or another. We're advocating for people to participate in the process, period. So when he answered that question, it made me smile to the point that everyone from Alpha Alpha should be very proud of his answer.
Absolutely. And so, what do they say about our voteless people?
They're hopeless people.
Talk to us a little bit about
Yes.
about that. That initiative, that thought process of voteless people as a hopeless people.
I mean, this is an initiative that's the national program within Alpha Phi Alpha, right? When I say national, it's global, actually. And it's from the tenets of Martin Luther King, right? And then so you think about that program from then to where we are now, that's essentially what we do as our key tenets, as part of the canvassing process, going out there and just letting people be heard. And as you mentioned before, it's all about rights and resources, right? But how do you participate, not just on a national level, but on a local level? And we participate in all tenets of that, right? When it just comes to even making people aware that it's time to vote, early voting,
Yeah.
or when it comes to even having their vote by mail, making them aware of those, there are changes, regardless of what party they're voting for. Just the fact that they know that there are changes they need to participate, and there's some things called a deadline.
Pinto, let me ask you this question because I gotta apologize in advance because I gotta tell you I was caught off guard. I mean, these young brothers are really bringing it. And for you, what did you see? Because I've known you through Greg for some years now.
Mhm.
What did you see, not only in these young men, but the fact that your fraternity has been doing community work and getting people engaged and understanding the process. But tonight, you bought 2 diamonds here.
Jules.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're good.
So, what, I mean, because we've done the barbershop with
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
and it just keeps getting better and better. But what I'm hearing tonight, you're right. We have to bring this back.
Yes. No, absolutely. And I think for me, right, from the highest of 7 Hills from Tallahassee, I was a director of student lobbying. So I always participated in this process one way or another. But that's what kind of got me into Alpha Phi Alpha. They're active. They don't just talk, they do things. So when it came to me, just approach Brother Tawani, he just said, okay, what can we do? How can we go about it? And when do we need to show up? And it's been effortless, right? So anytime we have any initiative at all, I don't have to apologize or ask for permission with my chapter. They just say, what do you need? Let's make this happen. And that's it. So as far as when it comes to advocacy overall, again, it's about rights and resources. What can we do to help people get more educated? I mean, even just for the fact of people knowing when early voting is. I mean, think about it. Election day is just one day. But when you think about the early voting, you have a 2-week period.
Yeah.
And if you can't get there because of work, you didn't have the weekends. And you'd be surprised at how many people don't even know about that. And that's part of what we do as far as passing that information. And that's education in itself.
I'm gonna tell you, for Brother Love and I, though, the election process starts 6 months before an election,
And that's
because that's when, and actually a little bit more, because when candidates start to, put their names down and say, hey, I'm going to run, or we see who's going to run, we start looking and say, well, who is this person? What are they doing in the community? Are they just hopping up and popping around? Who are they affiliated with? And so we start doing those things, and we start having conversations here on this platform as people are starting to gear up. Hey, be on the lookout for this person and all the other things. And so I think that's very important. Number one, the early voting, the registration, everything like that. But the other part is that throughout the year, because elections happen virtually every year, whether it's a 2-year election for the House of Representatives, for the state, or for federal, whether it's a 4-year or 6-year election for the state Senate or the federal Senate, whether it's your local elections with your commissioners, or every single year, so there's somebody that's going to be running for an office.
Right.
And we have to know who these people are.
But to say too, just from what we're doing, right, as a partnership for Alpha in the Orlando area, is that when you think about the election cycle too, you have something else that's coming up in 5 years. Census.
Yeah.
So with us being in the communities now, just doing more outreach and knocking on the doors, people know who we are, but to the point that they won't feel like we're strangers, right? So I live in Lake County, right? But I spend most of my time in Orange
Orange
County.
County, yeah.
So I want people to feel comfortable with us, right?
What's the importance of the census?
Rights and resources.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. So you think about the funding and how things are done, right? Even though they're trying to redistrict now, right?
Mhm.
That's how communities get money.
Yeah.
And if you don't show up and at least fill out the form of participating in that,
Yeah.
you're kind of hurting yourself.
Well, not just money, but representation.
Correct.
And that's how they set the individuals who are going to be in the electoral college and things like that. The number of representatives that you have. And so the census is important, but a lot of times we don't think about it from that perspective.
Yeah.
We say, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to do that. But you have to understand, resources come from that, and representation comes from
You know what, Brother Jackson, because you and I, we've been in battle together, and on the note of representation, you responded to how you feel and generations feel about discarding, I'm going to use that word, political party affiliation, because you're focused on what a person is going to do in being effective. Let's go a little deeper. How do you feel about advocating for individuals that's running to represent a community? And Pinto, you know where I'm going to go with this one. Do you lean on more so somebody that looks like you versus listening to what they're saying and listen to all parties to see who's going to be more effective in impacting what affects you? And what, bottom line, what am I saying? Do you vote for somebody that looks like you automatically, or do you let everybody, and Greg loves to say this and Doc loves it too, earn your vote? Don't take it for granted, number one. But number two, be effective in impacting your life.
Now, what I say is, let's say it right, Brother Love. Let's say it right. I say my right to vote is not someone's right to my
The
vote.
vote, yes.
So just because I have a right to vote doesn't mean that I have to automatically give it to you because you look a certain way, you're a part of a certain party, I look a certain way, or whatever. You still have to earn my vote.
That's it.
So I don't know my
No, but you, hey, so gentlemen, I'm gonna turn it because I'm interested in hearing what y'all have to say about that.
Well, for me personally, I also won't lie. I'll be honest. Whenever I see a black candidate, say out of a party of 5 white candidates, my eyes be geared towards more of them, seeing what they got to offer and what they're pushing out. But at the end of the day, research is what's needed. I still got to see what they are doing. Are they using the fact that they are a black candidate to, I guess, secure the black vote? Sometimes certain parties, what they'll specifically do is they realize, hey, the last election, we didn't get this many black votes. What we gonna do this time? We gonna put a little puppet in that's black, and
a Manchurian candidate.
yeah, right. Get a little puppet in, and then we gonna see how we can get now the Nigerian voters to we can do all this, or the Caribbean voters we can get them. Things like that. So you just gotta really research and see, but beyond the surface,
Right.
What are they pushing out?
Let's ask you, where do you do your research?
So I guess on a national general standpoint, I started looking more on the AP, Associated Press. Before, I was leaning a lot more towards CNN and whatnot. I grew up on CNN. Locally wise, not just about research, just news in general. I'm from Miami, so Channel 7 News is always big on me. Local 10, all the different things. My dad, my parents always loved us getting in what is going on in our community on the different aspects, on everything. So I even turn on the news for no reason. I just watch it just to watch it. Yeah. But besides that, I have this new program that I look at. It's actually a website, and what they do is they give you all the different types of news networks, regardless of party, and they'll tell you where they're leaning towards. If they're leaning more towards conservative, or they're more bipartisan and whatnot. So you can get the different viewpoints, and then from there you can make your own viewpoint. Once I get the name of it, I'll come back and but I can't remember right now.
Yeah, regarding that, I would definitely say a wolf in sheep's clothing is a real thing, right? Just because they may look like you doesn't mean they're always for you. But I do understand the bias, because typically when you're thinking of a candidate, seeing someone that looks like you resonates with you because you're believing, okay, this person has the same shared experiences as me. They've dealt with some of the things I've dealt with. I do think at the end of the day, though, you kind of have to, I think it's important for people in the community to vet the candidates who are running for office, right? Just because they look a certain way doesn't mean they're going to act a certain way. It also doesn't mean that they grew up the same way. You can have someone who looks like they're from your community. They grew up in a community that was nothing like yours, or vice versa. So I think vetting the politicians that are running, doing research on them, seeing what's their history, seeing, okay, they're saying they're from my community. When did this start? Were they in the community? Were they in the community 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or did they just show up a few months ago when they started running? You know, you kind of want to make sure that what they're doing is really legit.
These cats are wise
Yeah.
beyond the years.
Yes, no, I like it. I like it. But let me ask this question, because as we kind of get ready to wrap up, what are some of the issues that are important to you, and what are some of the things that you would like to see changed, or what would be something that you would maybe one day stand up and say, I want to serve this community as an elected official?
Okay. I guess from a local standpoint, I'm in college. I hope to go to business school, as I said before.
Mhm.
I like to see more effort, especially towards Black men in healthcare. I'm also in my campus, president of Black Men in Medicine,
Very nice.
where we try to promote Black men participation in healthcare. And I feel like, you know, it's also on the standpoint of there's not enough Black men in general, you know. It's just the struggle to put people of Black men in medicine. I can't say it anywhere else. There's not enough Black men. So just somehow pushing more Black men to get in the healthcare field is just lacking. We're just seeing that.
I like that.
I definitely agree with Tolomani. I served on the e-board of the Black Undergraduate Kinesiology Association as well. So I definitely agree with him that I would also love to see more Black men in medicine. Another big thing is I'd love to see more community work and engaging the youth when it comes to understanding politics. I feel like having them being able to understand the politics, understand why everything the way it is, that's something I'd love to see change more. Not even just from an aspect of, you know, you want them to go vote. You want them to understand how our world works and how to navigate it and how to do the best that they can with the world that's being given to them. Because at the end of the day, I feel as if for myself, when I'm getting older and seeing the community raise up and having children and things like that, I want to prepare them as best as possible, you know, for everyone in the community, but especially people of color, because, you know, there are certain places in life where you might be at a disadvantage, especially if you let it, right? And when it comes to disadvantages, you don't want to see your community fall to a victim mentality and just believe, oh, woe is me, you know, it's over for me, you know, the community doesn't serve me and things like that. So I want to see the community be more proactive instead of just reactive and trying to catch up and everything. Like, let's start from the basics. Let's start from the beginning and build up with the ground.
Now, I'll tell you, one of the things we haven't talked about here tonight, but something that I think more African-American communities should know about, is this little known entity known as a CRA, or Community Redevelopment Agency. And back in 1969, the Florida legislature saw that it was prudent to develop these agencies to address slum and blight in underserved communities, which more times than not, unfortunately, those underserved communities are brown and Black individuals. And with community redevelopment agencies, there are funds that are there that can help to build sustainable communities and can help to attract young African-American or young Black minds into a community for the purposes that you all are talking about. But because we don't know about community redevelopment agencies as a way of attracting those types of talent, we look past that. The other thing too is that that's a local and a state thing that we don't think about. And so that's why one of the first questions that we asked, one of the first questions that we discussed was, when we talk about all politics is local, what does that mean to you? There are agencies and organizations on the county, in the city level, on the state level that can achieve the things that you're talking about. And it's important that we get the word out about that. I mean, listen, I'm going to take just as much part and blame for that as anyone else, because I should be talking more to young people about, hey, if you live in certain areas, look and see if you have these things available, and demand that your politicians make you aware of what you can do to tap into those funds. So that's awesome what you guys are talking
Even
about.
on the aspects of like community service and whatnot, and the overall community programs, community health centers, I think, are a big thing that need to get more funding in general and whatnot. A lot of people in underprivileged communities, and they don't have the money for the insurance premiums that are sky high just to fix a simple issue.
Yeah.
So just getting those community health centers out there, you know, that can help with transportation, maybe get them from point A to point B, get their prescription, get them to the community health center. and just getting the proper care, quality care that they need. A lot of care, and especially underprivileged communities, is not quality at all. And there's bias too. A lot of issues, especially dealing with Black women. It, at least from what I hear about, they say there are issues to these doctors and these healthcare professionals, but they're not hearing them. You know, and that's just, there's a disconnect there. So there's really bridging that disconnect as well.
Let me do this, and here's where we speed things up. And I'm gonna leave you for last, Pinto, if you don't mind. In 1 minute, this is the rapid fire. Greg and I, when we started this show, we always said we wanted to begin with an end in mind and get results. So in a minute or less, hearing all that we've had a conversation about here, where do we go from here, from your perspective?
Where do we go from here? I think we just continue to reach the community. I think we continue to reach the community by also starting younger, right? Kids are cognizant from a young age, especially nowadays with social media. They're exposed to everything, right? I can guarantee you go to an elementary school, they're gonna know the newest songs out, the newest rappers, the newest this, the newest that. So they're cognizant enough to understand, you know, the social media aspect. I bet you they're cognizant enough to understand the political aspect if you give them that chance.
Younger and younger.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I believe that less bias and skewed news should be promoted more on social media platforms. Back to what Yan was saying, what he used to do with it was I think non-partisan and bipartisan information is really getting people to know what is politics, what of politics, what it can do, and not necessarily pushing fear. I feel like a lot of fear is pushed out, especially on social medias nowadays, and because of that, it either causes people to have very radical viewpoint or just no viewpoint at all. They just want to distance themselves from the chaos, and it's showing on stats, it's showing on the turnout.
Pinto.
You know, I can always keep it short. I just believe in being open to possibilities. I mean, this started out as just a simple conversation, right? And this is our second time doing this. It's to the point now there has to be a commitment to keep doing this. So for me, you know, I've always lived that life of being open to possibilities. And I'd encourage my brothers here to be open to those possibilities too, to further conversations with people within your circle. Because I know you guys are solid, great individuals, right? But I also want to encourage you and challenge you to reach out to those brothers that you know are part of that conversation. Make them feel comfortable also.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be open to possibilities.
You really brought it tonight, Pinto, man. I can't express to you enough, man. You brought some young men here tonight that made me kind of think out of the box.
It's encouraging, man.
Yeah.
It's encouraging. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Greg Jackson, this is your fraternity, but this is a fraternity you belong to, brother. So, close us out.
Listen, man, there's no other way to close this out other than to say that we appreciate these young brothers and Brother Pinto for being here tonight. Great conversation, great insight. I hope that you all learned as much from us as we learned from you all. Just the insight that you all were able to provide, and openly and freely. That's what it's all about. The other thing, too, is that on behalf of Brother Love and myself, if you ever feel that you need some help with anything, guidance, or whatever the case may be, know that you can always call on Brother Love and I as Let's Talk Nation, but you can always call on me as a brother as well. I may not come to the meetings, but I am always around. Just know that I am around. But listen, man, great conversation, man. I couldn't have scripted it better myself, man.
Absolutely. Hey, for those of you who are tuned in to Let's Talk Nation, you know we're here every Monday from 7 to 8, and these are the kind of discussions that we have. But if you tune in for the past 8 years, you'll also remember what I tell Brother Jackson when we get to this point of the show. Brother, you don't have to go home.
But you got to get out of here.
Until next week on Let's Talk Nation, please join us for an interesting conversation.